Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Neil Lennon and Alison McConnell are here with me, and this is what we're going to be talking about.
Philippe Clement claims Rangers were moral winners after his side came from behind twice to earn a draw with Celtic after being 2-0 down at half-time.
Clearly deserve at least a point today, what we've shown. And I think we're at the end the moral winners.
Brendan Rodgers believes John Beaton got it wrong when he changed a yellow card for simulation to a penalty for Fabio Silva after VAR intervened in yesterday's Old Firm derby. Stuart Kettlewell admits the late Dens Park pitch inspection disrupted Motherwell's build-up after the Fir Park club had lodged an official complaint with the SPFL.
I think it would be remiss of me not to say that plays with footballers' mentalities. You know, they're creatures of habits, they like to be set for what's coming next.
Stephen Robinson said St Mirren are exceeding expectations after securing a second consecutive top six finish for the first time in 39 years.
And now our aim is, can we get into Europe? You know, I believe that's 36 years since we got into Europe.
Players are on peanut.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy still hasn't grasped the fact that this programme, when they stop talking, he can't have a gab with his partner on the show. But great to have Ruffy, Neil and Alison here with us. We're going to talk about the game, the big game on the Sunday. It finished Rangers 3, Celtic 3. And Ruffy, what a game.
Yeah, I have to say, the bags of excitement. Obviously, you know, quality wasn't there in a lot of the game, but I think when you look at the goals, you know, and the way the game panned out, the extra time, and, you know, Celtic in the end sort of hanging on to whatever they had. But I think from a neutral's point of view, it had everything, and it's what we want to see in these games.
When you look at, and you were part of the Sky panel yesterday, when you look at the huge global audience that game would have had, you know, for all its faults, it would have had a really good impact globally.
Yeah, it was compelling viewing. You know, the atmosphere was as brilliant as always, what you'd expect. The noise, the colour, and the game, the tempo of the game was, you know, really good. It was exciting. It could have went either way, the game. I think Celtic will be disappointed that they didn't win the game. We haven't been 2-0 up and then 3-2 with a few minutes to go. However, I think Brendan will be delighted with the way the team played and the mentality of the team as well. Although I just felt they conceded a little bit of ground in the second half, but sometimes you do that subconsciously as a team as well, Pete. The turning point or the momentum shift was the penalty for Rangers. You know, give them a leg in the game, which up until then they'd been so far off it.
After a game with the enormity of it, for people suggesting if Rangers win it, they're well on their way to the title. If Celtic win it, you know, the advantage, the pendulum swings. So after it, honours even, where do you think the advantage lies before we get into the meat and bones of the game itself?
I think both camps will probably feel as though, and will rightly feel as though it's in their own hands, that their own destinies there. I think Celtic might just edge it. The fact that the last game is played at Celtic Park in front of their own crowd. They've not lost a game against Rangers this season. In fact, I don't think they've been behind against Rangers at any point. I think they'll feel as though yesterday they let Rangers off the hook. I think they were very dominant in that first half performance. I think it could have been a wider margin that they went into the break with. I think they'll take a lot of confidence from the way they played in an environment like that. Very hostile, you're not going in against it with any of your own fans, as we know. But I think Celtic will feel as though they've maybe just got an edge given what lies ahead. Rangers, I think, will draw on the fact that they recomposed themselves after looking so far out of it.
To the game itself, if you're Philippe Clement, you must be sitting in that dugout looking and thinking, 21 seconds and everything I've said to you in the dressing room is out the window.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to be prepared for that, even though you don't expect it. You know, O'Neill used to say to us, like, for all our preparation, could be a goal down after 1 minute. And it was a bit of a freak goal, let's have it right. So it wasn't a great, and they never recovered, Peter. You know, you're looking for, you know, a bit of experience in the team to get some passes going, get some moves going. They were just, it was very, very tentative after that for long periods, and Celtic capitalised on that. I think Clement earned his money yesterday, there's no question, because at half-time you're thinking that's such a poor performance, and everybody's been talking the team up, but they came out and they showed really good will, without the quality, but they willed themselves back into the game.
What would you have said, and what do you think Brendan said? Maybe, I'm not suggesting that it would have been vastly different, but what would you have said after such dominance in the first half?
Let's get the next goal. You know, that's all you got to think about. Go and make it 3-0 and kill the game off. 2-0's, sometimes when you're playing that well, you don't want half-time to come. Rangers definitely wanted half-time to come. Celtic, it's hard to pick up the momentum again of, you know, and that sort of flow more or less straight away. And obviously bringing Sima on, I think, galvanised Rangers and give them more pace and width in the team, which they lacked in the first half. But for me, from a Celtic point of view, you know, Brendan would have been delighted at half-time, but, you know, still switched on.
Penalty or not, Celtics?
The first time I saw it, I thought it was a dive the way he went down, but once I saw it again...
Celtics.
Oh, Celtics.
Handball.
It's a penalty. It's a penalty. But again, I never saw it in real time. So you have to give VAR a bit of congratulations on that one, because it all happened that quick. But obviously when we saw it again, you know, it's definitely his elbow, he hits it. And as I said the other day there, it's not the first time Golson's been in that situation inside the 18-yard box. He's got away with it 2 or 3 times for whatever reasons. But again, it was just clumsy, you know, if it's a centre-half, you want to go and win it with your head.
Yeah, and at that point, again, we mentioned... Prior to it, we were wondering how much VAR would be involved in the game. It was there at critical points in that match. And again, this is the second time that Rangers have had 50,000 fans, no Celtic fans there, and Celtic were able to quieten the crowd. The penalty, I mean, for a guy to show that kind of calmness right down the middle, Matt O'Reilly.
Particularly coming, I think, in the back of a fairly inauspicious return from penalties this season from Celtic. I think they'd missed 5 out of, scored 5 out of 10, missed 5 out of 10. So yeah, I thought it was super composed. I thought he was the coolest man in the park actually at that point when he took it. But yeah, I think Ibrox got very quiet as soon as Maeda scores that opening goal. All of a sudden, you press the mute button, and then by the time O'Reilly scores the second goal, you can hear a pin drop within the stadium. I think you know, that obviously works in Celtic's favour. You just mute the crowd and take that element out of it. I think the only thing that Celtic will feel is that they could have had a wider return by the time they get into the interval. The game could have been put to bed before they get in at the break.
Yeah, were you surprised by the way they went about their business, Neil, and the way Celtic played football? And in contrast to that, in that first half, Rangers did not seem to have a game plan to counter it, or indeed to try and force themselves on Celtic.
No, I think you can see the goal after a minute, but there's loads of time to get back into the game. They never really did that, Peter, for the first half.
Yeah.
You know, Silva was going down a lot, you know, rolling around, breaking up any momentum that Rangers were trying to build. The Celtic performance didn't surprise me because that's the way they play. You know, and the more the teams come on to them, the more they got the ability to play through them, and you know, they've got devastating pace in, you know, the wide areas. I thought Hatari and O'Reilly were excellent in the first half. You know, great composure and speed of play, and you know, they just looked far superior. Yeah. There was a gulf in quality in the first half between both the teams.
There are 2 positives, well, a positive and a negative from the first half is the fact that Butland produced, you know, 2 great saves.
I mean, the save from O'Reilly's fantastic. You know, I thought the Maeda one was a comfortable head for him, but obviously he's still got to make the save. But the O'Reilly one, you know, looked the goal all the way, and he's just made an unbelievable save to tip that away.
And before we get to the second half, which I think rightly so, there's praise there for Philippe Clement because he has to change things around. But Silva, I think at one point was even upsetting Rangers fans who just wanted to see a shot on goal, Ruffy. They wanted to see some quality, and he seemed more intent in rolling around.
Yeah, he was very theatrical, you know, and I think even the Rangers supporters were sort of a bit miffed with, you know, the rolling about and holding your face, and when there's not been any contact in his face at all. And as Neil said, it disrupted anything Rangers were trying to do. You know, okay, you might have got a free kick out of it, which at that particular time were all Rangers were feeding on. No free kicks into the box, corners into the box. That looked as if it was the only way they were going to score. But yeah, you're right, you know, but you know, we'd all like to see that in the game anyway.
Yeah, I thought Rangers in the second half, and again, this was down to maybe sometimes you know, you can get a moment in the game that changes the fortunes, and Neil's highlighted Abdallah Sima. he comes on for Scott Wright, and suddenly that axis starts to change in the second half. Admittedly, of course, everybody's looking towards the penalty, which we'll get all your thoughts on. But they did come out and respond to the manager, who apparently tore into them.
Yeah, I think Sima changed the game for them. I think Scott Wright had been anonymous in the first half, and I think Celtic had so much joy down that whole side of the pitch in the first 45 minutes. I thought Sima definitely brought something extra. He injected a bit of pace, a bit of width into the team, and I think you knew at half time that there would be changes. You knew that Rangers would come out and go full throttle to try and get themselves back into the game. But I thought he was a catalyst for that. I think the pivotal moment is the penalty. I don't think there's any question about that.
Is it a penalty in your mind?
No, not for me. I think the way that I think Johnson flicks the ball, I think he gets a touch on it. I think his momentum carries him through, and I think Silva was going down all the way.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say about this, and this is something whether it's a Rangers Celtic game or any other game, the one thing that I've been saying continually week in week out on this programme, Neil, is if you're going to have VAR and you're going to make big calls, the referee John Beaton is 5 yards away from that. He can see it. I would love to get to a situation where the fans, the viewers, and everybody is made aware of what the conversation is going on between Nick Walsh and John Beaton, because in my mind, if that transparency can let everybody hear what's being said, you would then understand who's refereeing the game.
Yeah, the other thing is John made the decision, which I thought at the time was correct. He gave a free kick out to Celtic, because I felt at the time, Johnson did get some of the ball, and then for me the leg's still out there and Silva falls into it. The two lads in the studio with me, they disagreed. They thought it was a penalty. So there's arguments to and for that, but I thought it was soft. And then John's gone over to look at the screen, and obviously he's changed his mind, because to me, did John make a clear and obvious error? I don't think he did, because I felt that, Johnson got some of the ball. But obviously in his mind, or the chat that he had with Nick Walsh, they decided to change it and give the penalty. I thought it was soft, I have to say. And did it decide the game? No, it didn't, but it certainly gives a real foothold in the game for Rangers, which they hadn't looked like getting before that.
I'll tell you one thing, Ruffy, we've talked about it ad nauseum on this programme. Taking a penalty kick is a skill, it's an art, and boy, in a game like that, I mean, we've already talked about Maeda Riley chipping it down the middle. James Tavernier's into the roof of the net, right in the postage stamp.
Yeah, in all fairness, it was placed very well. I thought Joe Hart nearly got to it. I think he read it particularly well. I think
on the way out?
No. If you get a chance to see it again, his hand wasn't that far away from it. He'd guessed and went early, because I think that's his favourite corner to put it into. And but again, he's got 50,000 people behind him, then the confidence must have been there to get the team back into the game. On the penalty incident itself, I had the chance to play VAR this morning in the house.
Yeah.
With my remote control, by rewinding it and seeing it and freezing it and going back. And I have to say that initially I thought it was a dive, but the more and more I watched it back and forward, I thought it was a penalty.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I mean, that's the great thing about it. It's all about opinions. Although how you could rewind a Betamax video recorder escapes me.
It was in black and white.
Yeah. But over and above that, again, we go back to the situation where suddenly John Beaton, for all his criticisms, and as you said, is he instrumental in the overall outcome of the game? That's open to debate. Is he a referee that people are looking to blame before the game kicks off and for what he did during the game? But he was 5 yards away from Iwata when the tackle was made before Rangers raced up the park, Alison, to score the goal. And I think it shocked most of the fans inside when suddenly VAR intervenes again. Did you get that right? It
was bedlam at that point. It's a kind of frantic 2-3 minute spell for Celtic. I thought he did get it right. I know there was an argument that there had been 2-3 passages of play that led up to the goal that he could have let it stand, but I think he did get it right. I think when you look back at it, it is a foul.
We watched it straight away. Everybody saying it's a foul, and not only that, Pete. When I can't remember, was it Silva who maybe got the ball? He's got acres to run into then,
Yeah.
because of what has been taken out of the game by the tackle. You know, so whether it's like second or third phase, whatever you want to call it, the goal comes from initially a foul for Celtic, and I thought the referee had a good game, I have to say, and I think that's why the game was so good to watch. You know, I know everyone's on eggshells about the refereeing decisions at times, but I thought in the main he handled the game pretty well.
Yeah,
I thought it was a bonus that he was actually refereeing the game and not the VAR guy. Imagine John Beaton had been VAR and changed these two decisions.
yeah, it's an interesting point. I think the other thing about it, which is very, very difficult nowadays, especially in this society, is quite simply that John Beaton was on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy that to hear you say your thoughts on him in the refereeing, because I think the pressure now on referees from social media, from what I call this constant tribalism that goes on. Here is a boy who has to be very careful, you know, in his own private life, and also goes out there to referee a game with that stigma of, well, he's going to give, you know, in this case, decisions to Rangers, because of the perception of the majority of Celtic fans. So he calls that one right. And then, of course, we're getting to a situation where this game just kept coming up with surprise after surprise. Did you think McGregor was off it yesterday?
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's uncharacteristic.
Yeah, I think he's still carrying a bit, you know, but it was good. You know, when he's not in the lineup before the game, you're worried. But the way Celtic took to the game, we didn't miss him. He didn't look great. I don't know if he's got a long-term problem there, and it's very uncharacteristic of him, you know. So he's very, very rusty. Whether it was the right decision, I thought the sub sort of diluted the game a little bit, but you understand what Hatate for me goes off after 64 minutes. You know, Celtic need to get more minutes out of him because he's a top player.
Yeah.
You know, he was brilliant first half. O'Reilly coming off, you know, that's your two creative midfield players. So it's sort of sending a bit of a message, you know, maybe we'll hold what we have really. And like I said earlier on, I've played in games, Pete, at Ibrox where you're 1-0 up, you start looking at the clock. You do, you know, 64, 70, we're 1-0 up. And subconsciously you do tend to go that way and just defend it and try and hit on the counter-attack. I think the Edith substitution was good because it gave them a bit of an outball, because Rangers went man-to-man and pressed up against Celtic and they found it difficult to get out. And he was a good outball for them. It was disappointed with Yang. But you got to give Rangers... Matondo... I thought Clement would have brought the two wingers on at half-time.
Yeah.
You know, taking Silva and Scott Wright off, because they just looked... You know, that they needed an outball because everything was in front of Celtic first half. Yeah. So the subs, you know, definitely had an impact for both the teams.
Yeah, and if you don't buy a ticket for the raffle, Sima's shot, okay, gets a little bit of...
Listen, I'm all for it, you know. It doesn't matter to me whether it got a deflection or not. You can say it's lucky or not, but you're right. If you don't shoot, you don't score. It's the same with Matondo. He comes inside, he goes, bosh. You know, 6 times out of 10 the could go there. He caught it perfectly. It was a wonderful goal.
It was.
And to be fair, Eda's goal was a cracker as well.
Yeah, it was a worldie. The 2 goals. I mean, at that point you're sitting there, you're going, okay, it's going to be 2-2. Next minute, Celtic got up the park and score, and you're looking at the clock, and you're saying to yourself, this game's got absolutely everything. There was still more to come after that.
Yeah, 71 seconds or something, I think it was, after Rangers had levelled it, that Celtic went back up the park and made it 3-2. And at that point, you're looking at the clock and you're thinking there's 3 minutes of regulation time to go. You knew there was going to be a fair bit of time added on because of the stoppages. But I think you would have expected Celtic just to see it out, to shore it up, to tighten things, slow the game down, just take it at that point. I think they'll be disappointed not to have done so. That's taken nothing away from the quality of the goal. It's an extraordinary goal, a great, absolutely superb finish. You saw it last week against Hibs. I do think there is some criticism of Yang just before he cuts inside and gets it on and curls it in. But I do think you have to applaud the finish. I thought it was a fantastic goal. But yeah, I think it was a fantastic theatre yesterday. I think a fantastic advert for the Scottish game. I think just 2 teams really going toe to toe, both wanting to win it. Even when you're seeing 3-4 minutes still to go, both of them I think were still going out and trying to win it.
When it goes 2-2, Rangers go 2-2, you're thinking, oh, the Alamo's coming now for Rangers, you know what I mean? They just go, and then out of the blue, well, not out of the blue, Rangers must be kicking themselves as well, Peter, for conceding straight after working so hard to get back level.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, you think in the bubbles burst here, Celtic 3-2 up, see it out, and then, you know, the game had a bit of everything, and I think a lot of players left it out there on the pitch.
Yeah, Philippe Clement, the Rangers manager, as you've no doubt heard, said he reckoned this was a moral victory for Rangers.
And then it became a really, for you guys, crazy scenario. For us, the scenario that I wanted. Not with the 2-2 and then the 2-3, of course. But we deserve, and clearly deserve, at least a point today, what we've shown. And I think we're, at the end, the moral winners of this afternoon. Because a few months ago, for sure not, this team could have reacted after 0-2 in an Old Firm. And I don't know if many teams in the past could have done it.
Well, his team battled back in the second half. I thought they deserved a point, did you?
Yeah, I thought so in the end. You know, I think he's right in some of the stuff that he said there. I thought it was really interesting, Cameron Vickers getting interviewed after the game saying that 50,000 Rangers supporters was a positive for Rangers because it willed them on. And he said, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said it was very difficult to defend that with the time running out and them coming forward, the crowd pushing them forward. So it must affect, and Lenny's already said you're looking at the clock, but I just thought they got deeper and deeper deeper.
What's it like though as a player when it's not going according to plan and you can see the decibels increasing from the home support? What's it like?
What's it like as a player?
Yeah.
Like I say, you know, you take safety first measures. You know, you started like subconsciously. I remember you playing in many games, winning by a goal up at Ibrox, and you know, basically defending maybe 5-10 yards outside the box, and then, you know, look, but we had, you know, big boys in the team who could handle, you know, most of the stuff. So you don't mean to do it. Yeah. It's just sometimes you can't stop it. And you know, the momentum was with Rangers, and I'm not convinced that they deserved a draw. Like, you know what I mean? I know what you guys are saying, but just on the basis of the, you know, the first half was so inept, and you know, Celtic had the gilt-edged chances to, you know, put the game to bed. But they definitely, you know, willed themselves to get back into the game, not by playing anything special, but just by sheer will and determination. You got to admire that. I was disappointed with some of his comments after the game yesterday. You know, didn't agree with it. I don't know what a moral victory means in an Old Firm derby. If you ever get one, you either win it or you lose it.
Yeah.
And
I noticed some people posting when you said, I don't know about celebrating a draw.
Yeah.
I noticed somebody says, well, he was celebrating a 5-5 game winning.
Yeah, but I was celebrating a goal. Like they were doing a lap on around the pitch and that yesterday. You know, back in the day, if we'd have drawn 3-3 at Celtic Park, would have been booed off, like, you know. But anyway, I digress. I'm not convinced that they're the team that people are making them out to be at the minute. I think they've been good.
Yeah.
I think they're competent, but I think when they go up against a quality team, they struggle. If you score 3 goals at Ibrox, Pete, 9 times out of 10 you expect to win it, don't you?
Yeah, and at that point I was going to make to you, because this is where we get to in a moment. I want to speak to you guys about this before we move on to the other games. Obviously Brendan Rodgers looked at the whole game and certainly was very complimentary about that first half. Maybe debated whether it was the best they'd played this season. I thought certainly it's the best football I've seen from Celtic in the first 45 minutes. He reckoned that John Beaton got one big decision right. He should have stuck with it. And that was the decision to book Fabio Silva and not award a penalty. This is what he had to say on that key moment. I'm disappointed in the penalty. It gave them an up in the game when we were clearly the much better team. I thought the ref got it absolutely right on the field. He connected with the ball, the player simulates, and it was right. They then score the penalty, it gets to 2-1, and then you expect something from Rangers, and that's exactly how it panned out. And listen, we've all had our tuppence worth to say about it. Some you agree, some you don't. You know, did they deserve a point? You know, what about the contentious decisions? Give us your thoughts. We sent our man Patrick Mullen out to speak to Rangers and Celtic fans a day after the event.
Yeah, it was good that they managed to bounce back, and I've seen that a couple of times this season with them bouncing back, which is showing a bit more resilience for when Beale was here. I think definitely.
Dominated the first half, totally high press. It was one of the best performances of the season I've seen so far. Getting players back, so hopefully that should see us across the line.
Second half were a lot better. I think the conditions didn't help the first half, and we've seen that in the second half. it's a game of both halves, and the team playing into the wind get to brunt it of both halves. But quite confident second half. Go to Celtic Park, and even a draw would suit us now. So only it's not Celtic, they've got to win now. So I think the pressure's on them. It's the league's in our hand.
Poor defending for a few of the goals. Yang should have got closer to Matondo, should have got a shot in. They're happy with a draw, so title's still in our hands, win all our games, and we should be okay.
More disappointed on how we played in the first half. I thought we were terrible. It just looked like, I don't know, players were sort of scared. It's a sort of tag the team have the last few years, is that I don't want to use it in camera, but like bottle jobs, they're having the balls for it. The first half proved that yesterday. But listen, he made subs at the right time. He had to make that sub at half time. I was expecting another sub, but he made the right sub at half time, and it all worked out at the end.
I felt we get robbed again, the referees as usual. So I did. And first half totally destroyed them and felt it could have been a bit 4. So, aye, but sure when we come here next time, what is it, 6 games we'll get left? Yes. So if we win all of them, we win the league.
First Old Firm derby yesterday. I travelled all the way from Southport. My name's Greg. Atmosphere was absolutely electric. Absolutely electric. Shame about the result, so I did want them to win, but absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, interesting from both sets of supporters here. And again, just before we talk about an unsavoury point on this, pick you up on that point, Neil. Who has the advantage now towards the end of the season?
I'm going to say Celtic, because the big game when it comes around against the Celtic Park, you need to look at the split as well, Peter. I think Celtic may have to go to Kilmarnock, which will be very, very tricky.
We reckon they've got 3 home games.
They've got 3 home games and 2 away. One will be Kilmarnock and possibly St Mirren. Look, if you're going to win the league, you got to win all the games. I think, are this team capable of doing it? I don't know. Are Rangers capable of going all the way and winning all the games? I don't know. So for me, Celtic got a leg up, but I'm not saying they're clear favourites to win it now.
Yeah, Dundee's a huge game for Rangers. And again, we're talking about, that moral victory or that psychological boost. Whatever it is, they have to go to Dundee on that rotten pitch, and Philippe Clement will be saying to them, look, destiny is in our hands here. Go and win that game and then hit the top of the table.
I think it's the same for both teams. I think there's no margin for error now. I think it's just bank the points. It doesn't matter how you get there. It's simply make sure you're putting points in the bank, because any slip up whatsoever can be fatal now. Any slip up now, when you start to run out a road of making it up, and I think it also hands the impetus to the other team. There's just so little between them. You've seen both of them lose games this season unexpectedly. Neither of them have had a straight road. It's been fairly inconsistent at times from Celtic too. Celtic have lost to Kilmarnock twice, have lost to Hearts, Rangers losing to Motherwell at Ibrox, results that you wouldn't have anticipated. But I think it really has to be blemish free from here on in for whoever wants to win it.
Do you know, it's a funny league this year. Rangers have lost 5 games, Peter.
Yeah.
Any last season now, Celtic have run away with it.
Celtic have what, 6 draws?
Yeah, and 3 defeats. So there's been inconsistency
erratic.
Yeah, not the level that we've been used to.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so close, I think, as well.
Both too are bringing back players from injury that will be pivotal to the run-in. Celtic having Hatate back is huge. You saw yesterday what they've missed. He's almost lost a season, came back in and broke down again. I think you saw what he has to offer, the energy, just the level of composure that he lends Celtic in the middle of the park, and also he's capable of chipping in with goals. His attacking threat that he offers, McGregor too, you would anticipate just getting up to speed across recent weeks too.
Well, it's the finish that we wanted, Ruffy, to be perfectly honest with you. In my mind, I think the winner of the game at Celtic Park wins the league.
Well, it's going to, if we're talking about the teams that are going to win, take care of all the other games,
I think they will.
You're talking about Rangers would need to go there for a draw.
Yeah.
Rangers a draw.
Yeah.
So it's a big ask as well. You're going to have to go into that game and win it. I think, as Neil's touched on it with the split, I don't know what the split's going to be. Are the 2 of them going to have 3 home games and 2 away?
3 away.
3 away. I think, well, obviously when the split comes out, there'll be a conspiracy theory going about there, and they'll all be saying, why are we going there? Why are we going there? We never went. No, you know what I mean? That's the way it is. that hands, I think, Celtic a bit of an advantage. If Rangers have got 3 away games, we don't know where they're going to be, but they're certainly going to be tough.
Yeah.
I think so much of it comes down to who handles the pressure of the situation. Now, I think there's a lot of pressure on that game at Celtic Park. If Rangers only need a point, if both keep winning and they go into that one, and that will be, you can guarantee it'll be the first or second game after the split, second game at the very latest.
I think it'll be the first.
I think it'll be the first. But I think if you go in thinking, well, if you get a draw and come out here, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on Celtic to say
It's
we've got to go and
impossible,
force
Alison, to play for a draw.
it. Yeah.
It's impossible.
And Celtic obviously have the advantage of 50,000.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Do you know what I mean? So, you know, like I said, you could, you know, like, say Rangers decided to play for a draw yesterday. First minute, they're a goal down to a freak. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying, Peter?
Yeah.
Like, anything can happen in football, right? Your best laid plans can go out the window after a minute. So I don't think Philippe will go into the game thinking, I'm going to set out to get a draw. I'm going to set out not to get beat and to maybe win it.
Yeah. Okay, it's going to be interesting. Give us your thoughts on it in the comments section, and don't forget, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll join the football family. We like to offer you an opinion, some you like, some you don't. Obviously, we try and emphasise to everyone that if you are in the comments section, try and act with a modicum of decency. Just, I know that I used to say that on a regular basis, Ruffy. I've actually kind of shut my gob, but at times try and keep it decent so that we can obviously maintain your subscription, which is absolutely free. And if you want to download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. It's all about opinions. Rangers and Celtic fans, what did you make of it? Were there key issues? Were there decisions that you thought the ref got totally wrong? We'd love to hear from you on that. The unsavoury side of this game, I think Celtic have released a couple of statements. One with regards to objects being thrown into their dugout. It's totally unacceptable that our staff have once again been targeted in this way. We will be raising our serious concerns with Rangers, and we understand that the matter is currently being investigated by Police Scotland. There's also another incident which involved Matt O'Reilly during the game. It's been confirmed today that a glass bottle was thrown at Matt at yesterday's match. The repeated targeting of our players and staff with missiles is quite appalling and completely unacceptable. We've already raised our serious concerns with Rangers and understand that police are investigating the matter. Well, with all due respect, with every CCTV camera you can think of at both grounds, it should be no problem to highlight who threw it, get them arrested, get them banned from the ground forever.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. I think you want to see the hardest sanction possible for behaviour like that. It's utterly indefensible.
If you are in a ground, especially if you're sitting down, or even when you motion to get up because you're angry for whatever reason, it should be easy to actually spot them in the crowd, Ruffy.
Yeah, CCTV, you know, it's there. You know, if you've ever been into the police monitor room, you know, there's not just one camera, there's about 20 cameras that you can zoom in any area of the park. So you wouldn't think it would be difficult to find the person who did it.
Yeah, and the last note on this game, in the pre-match programme, Rangers Chief Executive James Bisgrove said the decision to allow a 5% allocation for the derby is the right decision. He also said the current Rangers board will never allow a return to the full Broom loan stand given to Celtic fans again, which I think have been, quite vociferous with this whole topic. I think it's a sad end to a wonderful spectacle at both grounds. And I think history itself over a long period when I'm dead and gone will shine a light on the stupidity of this boardroom pettiness, to be perfectly honest with you. I like to see a huge Rangers support, a huge Celtic support, and I think the game is sadder for it.
Totally agree. You know, 5%, you know, it's a start for me. You know, it's maybe 2,500 at Ibrox, 3,000 at Celtic Park. So, yeah, you got to get away fans back in there just for the significance of the game, Peter. Yeah. You know, for the competitive nature and what it means to both set of supporters. And it's far better a spectacle to have some green and white at Ibrox and some blue at Celtic Park. No question. I mean, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I'm disappointed that they're not going to get the full allocation ever again. You know, hopefully that might change over the years, but at least 5% is a start.
Yeah. I think the other thing about it, Ruffy, which I mentioned last week, if it had gone back to, you know, giving 7,000 fans, I would like to see the Rangers fans moved over to a better viewpoint. To be fair with...
At Celtic Park, you mean?
Yeah. To be fair to the Rangers fans, so that they can get as equally good a view of the game.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest criticism, the restricted view in that corner. It wouldn't have been good to watch the whole game. So, yeah, it's a good idea. But, I mean, Rangers have already come out and saying that they'll never change the 5%. So it'll be tit for tat again. That everybody will just fall in the same as the other team.
Okay, give us your point of view on this one, and how do you think it shapes up for the title? Is there anyone now who's favourites for the title in your mind? If you're a neutral, if there is such a thing that looks upon a Rangers and Celtic game, we'd love your opinion as well. From Rangers and Celtic in that 3-3 draw to the Saturday, where there were matches that really, I think one of them kind of highlights the stupidity of the SPFL at times, and the decision to have a 1 p.m. pitch inspection up at Dens Park. It's an entertainment first and foremost. It might be a business, but it's an entertainment which spectators pay to come and see. And I think there was nothing but contempt shown to the Motherwell fans for a 1 o'clock pitch inspection for a park that is abysmal. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, I thought it was a farce, to be honest, and not for the first time. We've seen it in recent weeks with Dens Park. I don't think it was any surprise that the game was going to be in doubt because of the rain that had fallen. We knew at the start of the week that there could be an issue. But yeah, I just think it doesn't reflect well on the league at all, that you've still got a situation for a top flight club when you get to 2 hours before kick-off and you're questioning whether or not the surface is playable. And I thought Stuart Kettlewell was very keen to make the point that they've sacrificed investing at points in the team to use those resources to go into the park, and I think it's a fair point. I think it's very, very difficult. We all know the climate that we live in. There are challenges there in keeping the ground as you want it, but that's why you invest in ground staff and covers and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and the pitch itself, in the end, you looked at it and you said to yourself, wait a minute, Dundee, Jordan McGee, Luke McCowan, obviously helped by the weather when it whipped into the back of the net. They were 2-0 up and it looked as if they were going to get full advantage, but fair play to Motherwell, they hadn't read the script.
Some comeback, for me, the whole pitch thing, it takes away a good story about Dundee. They've come up this year, Pete. They're on the brink of maybe getting top 6. Yeah. That's what we should be talking about. But
Tony Docherty's manager of the month.
Well, good. He's done a great job there. But I think this is a farce. I understand what Stuart's saying. You go through the whole routine, the regimented preparation. You want the game to go ahead. Not just for the fans, but for the players as well. Anyway, it's a great bounce back from Motherwell. And it's put them in my share of the top 6, when maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago you would never have envisaged that at all.
Well, I'm looking at it now. They're in 8th place at the moment, but if they beat Hibs this weekend, and Dundee have got 2 games left, one of them against Rangers, which, I'm not being disrespectful to Dundee, they're not favourites, and then they're away to Aberdeen. Ruffy, what a chance for Motherwell.
Yeah, that's why you could see them celebrating at the end. They knew it was on the line. You knew that if they hadn't won that game, they were out of it. So it gives them something to play for, and it's good for the league, to carry on, And I think St Mirren deserve to be there. I'd rather St Mirren are there.
Yeah.
And I think they've had a great season, so I'm happy they're there. I think they'll try and push for Europe as well. I think you've got to go for something, which will make it harder, obviously, for Rangers and Celtic when they play them. But see, to get back to the pitch thing, and I know I'm old school.
Yeah, you're old school.
Get on, mate. It's three parts of the pitch that's got sand on it. Everybody wants to play in a pristine condition. So as I said, this time of the year, what can you do? They put covers down. I don't think it spoiled the game for any minute, And when we come off here, I'll show you a photograph of a Scotland-Wales game in 1970 something, and the conditions that they played this game in. I'll show you. You will not believe.
Hold on.
You will not believe this photograph.
No.
Charlie Charles was playing.
I was just waiting for your old mate Waldorf to come in there, Statler. The reason why I'm saying this to you is, Ruffy, there are 2 elements to this which, of course, everybody thinks about being a football purist. We can look back at old footage. I mean, ITV4 have a great thing.
Oh, the big match revisited.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the pictures and I'm thinking the only thing missing here is a farmer, planting potatoes. But the point here is, Ruffy, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh no, I agree with you. No, at that point, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
The supporters should always come first when you're travelling. I'm only talking about the pitch.
Yeah, but the other thing about it is, but life has moved on in standards, and I can understand, the fact that Motherwell spent a lot of money with their groundsman in getting that pitch right, because they got flack when it became bare. They got a lot of flack for that, and they've addressed it and they've spent money. And if you've got a situation where a club, and I think there's a real imbalance as well that should have been nipped in the bud, years ago, with this stupidity over allowing Livingston and Kilmarnock to have an artificial pitch. If you want to be part of this business in the top flight, which is a professional league that wants to be taken seriously, then you have to abide by rules, which is grass and top flight grass in these games, Neil.
No, I agree. I've never been a fan of artificial pitches. I know they have a lot of benefit for some clubs, but this is the Premier League here in Scotland. We want to sell the game, not just around Europe but around the world, and all the top leagues should have grass pitches. Is what we were brought up to play on.
Yeah, absolutely. At the state of the pitch, Motherwell manager Stuart Kettlewell said it unsettled his team.
I think that the overlasting frustration is when there's so much uncertainty, and even up to 1 o'clock, and the different permutations of what might happen if that game doesn't go ahead. I think it would be remiss of me not to say that plays with footballers' mentalities. They're creatures of habits. They like to be set for what's coming next. And today, that wasn't quite sharp enough for me. That wasn't on point. But I think we've dealt with it really, really well. We walk out the front door proud of our comeback. And what it does is it takes everything on to next Saturday, where I'm sure there'll be a lot of eyes on the different outcomes that can come.
Yeah, what a game it's going to be.
Yeah.
Motherwell against Hibernian. We'll touch on Hibernian in a moment. I was there at Easter Road at the weekend. Just one little footnote to that. Tony Docherty did say that, as a Dundee manager, he wants to be able to send his players out onto a good pitch.
Absolutely, yeah. The game, it's pleasing that the game's on. It's a Saturday game at 3 o'clock. So yeah, of course I'm pleased the game was on. But and listen, there's nothing more I would like, particularly for the style of play that I play, with my players to have a pristine surface, but we didn't have it. So we need to make sure that we play the conditions and we see the game out, and that's something that we'll be addressing over the next few days and making sure that we're strong again come Wednesday.
Well, one man that didn't really care about the state of the pitch was Theo Bayer. His goal in that match was absolutely top drawer. I think 13 goals in the season. People are going to be looking at him.
I was just going to say, I think he's one of the success stories of the season. He just wouldn't have anticipated it when he went to Motherwell. I think he just looks like so many strikers, a bit of confidence about him because he's scoring goals, he's been playing well. Yeah, and I just think he's oozing a bit of self-belief within that team, and I think that's a fantastic result for Motherwell, and no one would have given them a hope. Go back 2 or 3 weeks, you would not have anticipated they would have been pushing for top 6. I actually thought they might have been sucked in down towards the bottom. And I think Bayer's been pivotal to that, just to getting them out the bit.
Yeah, St Mirren 1, Hearts 2. Hearts have cemented their place in third, but for back-to-back seasons in the top 6, Stephen Robinson's working wonders.
Yeah, on a very limited budget as well. So again, it's another real tick in the box for Stephen, and they will look to go on and try and get 4th place. There's lots to play for. I think the pressure now, Peter, of having that off your back, the top 6 sort of thing off their back now, they can go and maybe relax and enjoy the rest of the season. But yeah, fantastic story again. Brilliant last year, done it again. I've got to give Hearts a lot of credit as well. I think Stephen's done really, really well. There's a lot of sort of eyebrows raised at the start of the season, but they've been pretty consistent this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen Robinson, delighted that the Saints will be looking to the top half after the split.
People's expectations have risen massively at this football club, and it's down to the group of players, because with the resources we have, we shouldn't be in the top 6. Everybody thinks their club should be, but we're punching way above our weight in terms of the people we're competing with. And the credit to the staff, and the staff have worked tirelessly to drag every last drop of energy and quality out of the squad. To the board, who've been backed us for the last 2 years and tried to push the club forward. And now our aim is, can we get into Europe? I believe that's 36 years since we got into Europe.
Okay, so great for St Mirren to be in there. Everybody's now jostling and wondering where the 4th, 5th and 6th positions will be. Hibs had a great opportunity at the weekend, Ruffy, and I have to admit I was there and I just wondered about where they were going. It's the poorest I've seen Joe Newell all season, and I'm a big fan of Newell. Gave the ball away, St Johnstone got up the park and score, and then the defending is just woeful. For a new manager, he must have known that the defence needed sorted out, and I think he's, having listened to so many Hibs fans after the game and the reaction after it, I think he's under pressure.
Well, I'll wait for Tam's column on Thursday and see where Tam's got him.
Yeah.
Because he's had him in, he's had him out, he's had him in, he's had him out.
Isn't
So I think we'll wait on Tam, because I think you were there. You can tell by the Hibs support that they want success. They've got 17,000, 18,000 at the game, which is positive. They're just not consistent enough. They're just not. He's not got. I don't think he's got the right players, and I think if he gets a chance to get another window, he'll need to sort it out, because you're right, Hibs not being in the top 6 is just unthinkable.
Yeah, and at this point, nothing worse than the manager realising, the Hibs boss, Nick Montgomery, that it's out of his hands.
We have to be positive, and we have to believe that results midweek go our way and then results next week. And all we can do is go to Motherwell next weekend knowing that we have to win the game to give ourselves a chance of still making the top 6. So until that's mathematically impossible, then we have to believe. We've been on a good run. Lost at Rangers last week and really disappointed to lose that one today, because it's a game that obviously we needed to win, and we put big pressure on the teams above us, but it's out of our hands now.
Yeah, it's out of Hibs' hands. I thought they were poor at times in the game, and again, the reason why I thought it was such an inept performance was because St Johnstone really didn't come to actually go and win the game. They were quite happy to sit in, soak it up, and then I think they had maybe only 2 chances in the game, Ali.
Yeah, and I think it's just compounded with the games at Easter Road. I think Hibs fans want to see a particular kind of style. They want to see a particular kind of football. They want to see results. I think that's a desperately poor result for Hibs, to take nothing away from a St Johnstone side who I think that's huge for them. It gives them a significant bit of breathing space, but it's just a story of Hibs' season. I think it's been so desperately inconsistent across the piece.
Yeah, and you couldn't wipe the smile off Craig Levine's face. He loves getting one over on Hibs, and he certainly did that, and he was singing the praises of Adama Sidibe for his goal.
It was his constant threat of him running in behind that, and Hibs, they got in 2 or 3 times, and that one he scores every day in training with a degree of confidence and generally quite ferocious was shooting. So I wasn't surprised. For him it's really important. That's him got 2 in a row now.
The strange thing about this league, when we discuss who's going to be involved in the playoff positions, Ruffy, I've always said, if suddenly you get in that last 6 or 7 games a goal scorer, a Theo Bayer, somebody that can step up and just get those crucial 4 or 5 goals for you that are significant, it can take you away from the danger area. That's what's going to happen shortly.
Yeah, I think Darren McInnes summed it up last week when he said, I can't afford a really good striker, so I'll play with 2. And he's got the end product there is these 2 guys, Watkins and Vassell, are the 2 guys who have got them where they are just now, so all credit to him. But you're right, and I have to say Ross County as well, and most of the games are trying to play with the 3 strikers. They're trying to play with White, they're trying to play, with the other 2, I can't remember their names. Murray and the other boy is Brophy. And you have to give them credit as well, because as you've said there, if you're not scoring goals, you're not going to win games.
It's like a quiz with Ruffy, isn't it? You just got to answer them as they come at you fast and furious. Livingston 0, Aberdeen 0. If anything, the main talking point on this one, and boy, Aberdeen must have thought, they're safe now anyway, which was a huge sigh of relief, but Aberdeen must have thought to themselves, well, snatched it right at the end, only for VAR again. Yeah, absolutely. I think by all accounts, Blair was there, and I think it was a fairly forgettable 90 minutes. I don't think there was much to talk about or to write home about. I think Livingston, it's difficult, I think, just to get through to the end of the season when you know what's coming, the drops here. I think it's been there for
the bulk of the campaign, and you're just having to manage it now and accept it's fine. So you would fear for them. You see what happens to the likes of Hamilton Accies after being so long in the top flight, and you fall down in such a difficult league to get back out of. But I just think you can sense that level of apprehension a bit around the stadium and around the club.
Okay, elsewhere it was Kilmarnock 1, Ross County 0. It's always worrying when you get the winning manager saying they didn't have to work too hard for the win.
Sometimes you're near the best ones just to 1-0, getting the job done, playing with a bit of responsibility, playing with real concentration. We weren't brilliant, but we didn't need to be. We just, one was enough today, and thankfully we got the all important goal.
Yeah, we weren't brilliant, but we didn't need to be. There's a boot right where the sun don't shine, Ruffy.
Yeah, but I thought they created a lot of chances. You know, that could have been more than the one. But as he said there, at the end of the day, they just wanted the win and send the supporters home happy.
I think Vassell's been a real diamond for them, hasn't he?
I think the two of them have. I think Molly Watkins has done great of late as well.
Danny Armstrong's had a great
season.
He might get a move.
I thought he was outstanding last year. I was surprised that some of the biggest clubs didn't take it, but he seems happy there.
Yeah.
Dale's getting the best out of him. But I really like the two strikers. And what they did against St Mirren the other week, where they absolutely battered them. I love that. I love having a big striker around.
Can you pick the playoff position? Have you made your mind up yet? Is it
The playoff? No. Well, I've gone Livy and St Johnstone. I'm not going to change on that.
I'm going to stick with that as well.
I think Ross County.
Yeah. Ruffy, where are you?
I think Ross County have got to start scoring goals.
Yeah, we know that, Ruffy. Where are you?
No, I'll stick with St Johnstone.
Who do you think is going to make the top 6, Pete? Because you got for me, the game of the day will be Motherwell against Hibs.
Well, I think Motherwell
and Dundee have got to go to Aberdeen.
Yeah, but Motherwell will make the top 6 for me.
Do you think they'll beat Hibs?
I think they'll beat Hibs because
And you need Dundee to
Hibs are
lose.
inept, and I think Dundee will lose both games. And I think Motherwell will make it. And to be perfectly honest with you, again, I'm a huge fan of Stuart Kettlewell because, in that managers group, that union that you all have, it's a difficult job. There are times when you can go 5 or 6. We had Stuart Kettlewell in here, we had Stephen Robinson. They said, yeah, everybody wants us to throw in youngsters. But if I go 2 or 3 games with defeats, people are calling for my head in this league now.
Yeah.
So for Stuart Kettlewell to suddenly, have faith in youngsters, but also have faith in a guy like Theo Bayer, who really wasn't going anywhere.
No.
He was uninspiring at St Johnstone.
That was a great... and to be fair, with Stephen O'Donnell in, do you remember a couple of months ago? And Stephen was saying, look, this boy Bear's a player. He just needs to get his mentality right. And obviously Stuart's worked with him, and he's getting the best out of him. The kid's obviously showing his talent now. Yeah. And that's all credit to the coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's how
It's phenomenal, right? Like if Aberdeen, Hibs don't make the top 6, if you're right, and you have Motherwell, St Mirren, Kelly, all, when you consider the resources across the top flight, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, my only problem with it, and this is the downside to it, and I don't think we should actually try and dance around it, is the standard has been poor this season in the league. And I would love, obviously, us to try, even harder to get more and more money to give the managers that ability to try and bring better players in. But the standard hasn't been great. And the downside of that for us all, Ruffy, is we suddenly get to August and we end up with just Celtic and Rangers getting to group stages when you really want Hearts, an Aberdeen, a Hibs.
Yeah, but you know what happens, Pete? There's Shankland Red, he's been a revelation this season. Yeah. What's going to happen to him in the summer? Somebody's going to offer 4 million for him.
Absolutely.
So there's your best player gone. Miovski, if Aberdeen were in Europe, what happens is, they come and cherry pick the best players out of the league. Yeah. And then, you're left sort of with a rebuild again. All right, you've banked the money, which is great for the club and that, but it's not great for the squad. And that's the difficulty that, a lot of clubs have.
Yeah,
and the evidence is there in the transfer window. There's none, apart from Rangers and Celtic, maybe Hearts, there's none of the other clubs got money to buy.
Yeah.
They've no money.
Did Hibs not have a go at it, no?
But Hibs have got the potential.
It's loans.
No, but they've got the potential next season for having a better kitty and maybe the loans of, the new board. So there's the potential there. But right now they'll probably be sitting there going, the potential, we're bottom 6, we're not going to be playing European football, you know, and we're going to have to try and make sure we get a better season. So suddenly they'll be looking, and they're coming in for the first full summer, Neil, and they'll be looking there and they're saying to themselves, well, is Nick Montgomery the man that we're going to give the money to? Are we happy with the way Hibs have gone about their business this season?
I think it's pretty scandalous for Hibs and Aberdeen not to make top 6.
Yeah. Here's the Premiership table. Here's how it
Wow.
looks. Yep.
Not mess well, eh?
No, absolutely. She's the good thing about Ali is she's hated by a fair spectrum.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, she's the female Neil Lennon.
No, you do not want to be tagged with that.
Anyway, there's the Premiership table. Livingston, we accept, are gone. Ross County, actually, quite funny. At Ross County, have got the Aberdeen badge. I think there's been a few mistakes in the badges there, but we'll just live with it, because Ross County are second bottom, St Johnstone, then Aberdeen, then Motherwell, Hibs, Dundee, St Mirren, Kilmarnock, Hearts, Rangers, and then at the top, Celtic by that solitary point, but Rangers have that match away at Dens Park against Dundee before we hit the split, and then we get the fixtures next Monday to look forward to. I don't know you, Ruffy, but the predictions, predictor, God, that was a nightmare.
I think I only two right now, only two. I said on Friday I thought there'd be goals in the Old Firm game. I had 2 each. I thought at one time was okay, but I settled for 3 each. But I don't think there's been any challenge for anybody else in here anyway. You know, so I'm quite happy where I am.
Yeah, you're happy at the moment. I don't know if we can see the table, Ruffy, to see exactly where you are, but I think it's not changed from last week's. You're ahead, so I wouldn't worry about it. There it is there, yeah. Ruffy, you're ahead just over McManus. Then it's myself trailing Lee McCulloch now. Kerry's there, and Alison, just a one-hit wonder over the 11.
What's going on? What's going on
I
now?
resigned just after Christmas.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, some of us have quite a heavy workload.
I don't know. Yeah, some of us. Anyway, what about down south? This is a fantastic finish. Just before we finish, what a finish to the English Premier League, Neil, because suddenly Arsenal are top, albeit in goal difference, because of Liverpool's draw at Man United.
I was asked on Saturday, who did I think would blink first? I said Liverpool, but I also think that they'll still win it.
Yeah,
I do. Even though I think Man City's run-in is the easiest one.
Yep.
In terms of, you know, the quality of teams. Liverpool are away, but they're playing in the Europa League, whereas the other two are playing in the Champions League. I know from your own experience that can take a lot out of you, Pete.
Yeah.
You know, they've got Arsenal have got Bayern Munich, and you know City have got Madrid. So it's the reaction from those games at the weekend are going to be pivotal in how they come out of it. Liverpool, I know they're in the Europa League, but you know I still think their priority will be to win the league.
Just out of curiosity, have you been watching the Man City and Netflix?
My son has. I've been watching bits and pieces of it. Yeah. It's interesting. You know, they're just normal human beings at the end of the day. You know, and there's nothing spectacular about Pep's team talks either. You know, he's obviously very motivational, but he's got a brilliant group of players there, and their mentality is just awesome. Like, you know.
Well, absolutely. And
Chelsea didn't do one, did they, when they were trying to get rid of their manager in depth?
I think of Chelsea's more like a soap opera, because one manager goes in, another one comes in. The changes have been unbelievable.
Wouldn't recognise half the players, would you?
Not only that, absolutely. There's some that have been on loan that you wouldn't believe are still Chelsea players. But one little sad note, Ruffy, Joe Kinnear passed away at the age of 77. He was one of those characters in our game down through the years. Everybody associates him with that Wimbledon side that finished 6th in the English Premier League in season 93-94. I think the saddest part of this is battling dementia since 2015, which again is something which is, you know, predominant in our game at every level.
Yeah, it certainly is. I met him once. It was a football tournament over in Mauritius, and he had his gang around him: Vinnie Jones, Foster, Big Mick Hartford, and they looked as if they were joined at the seams. You know, so I can imagine what they'd be like as a manager, and obviously the players that all want to, you know, play well for him and want him to win.
I loved him, mate.
Yeah, he was a character.
I used to play against Wimbledon, and some of the histrionics on the touchline, you know, some of the facials he'd pull as well, like, you know, he was just good football man, Joe.
A mental side to play?
Oh, tough as teak, you know, awkward, made life really hard for you, and they were really effective at what they did, Peter.
The strange thing about it is, if they were in was it Mauritius you were? If you, myself, Johan Mialbi, Jos Valharen, and maybe Stan Varga were in the pub and it was all kicking off and they were there, I'd think we'd just do a runner. Is that fair? You know?
You wouldn't need anybody else but Mick Harford. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The boys would just leave Mick to it, you know.
He's an awesome character.
Oh, what?
Absolutely. Anyway, our thoughts, condolences, and of course our prayers go to everybody, friends and family of Joe Kinnear. We talk football, we love football, and hopefully you enjoy our content. And as ever, we'd love to hear from you. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you. And over and above that, if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. There's lots more to come. There's one-to-ones on the way in Straight Talk. There's the Journals show. And of course, let's not forget Women's Football Show, Kerry's preview on a Saturday, and our reporters out there covering the news extensively every day. And all we ask you to do is hit that subscribe button. So from Ruffy, Neil Lennon, Alison McConnell and myself, Peter Martin, thank you for listening and thank you for watching.